What is going on? Welcome back to the channel. Today I'm going to talk to you about the top 5 short squeeze stocks that you need to add to your watch list going into this upcoming week. So I'm going to go over all the things that you need to know, but first make sure to hit that thumbs up, and with that, let's get right to it. So there's a lot of big data points coming out this week that could really propel the market higher or potentially break it down, but in a lot of these cases, they're on this list because of their upcoming earnings. So again, getting right to stock number 5. And on a side note, it's not in any particular order whatsoever. So just as a FYI, but starting off with stock number 5, you have HIMSS. So Him and Hers Health, sitting at $49.28, did go down 25.79% over the last 1 year. It is still up though, 423%, and even 6 months up 197. In case you do not know, this is their company profile, so feel free to pause it, read through it, and so forth. But primarily the reason why it is on this list is because of their earnings. So they have their earnings slated for the 24th after the market does close. 22 cents for the earnings per share, 470.5 million for the revenue. So again, shorts I think already are overextended, and there could be bull cases and bear cases for HIMSS in general. But if they do beat on their earnings, then this is where shorts will be in a very tough scenario, prompting a good foundation for a squeeze. So again, it is earnings related. Looking at the actual short information, so 28.57% of the free float is being shorted, works out to be 53.99 million shares. Friday, shorts did return roughly around 89,000 shares. Cost to borrow average is fairly low, so it's 0.64. Short score, so the higher the number, the higher the likelihood of a squeeze happening, is 51.12. Utilization is 11.64, and then DTC is 3.47. So that is fairly high on a side note, so something again just to kind of keep in mind. But one thing that I do find rather weird with this stock, and occasionally some people have brought this up as well, but shares on loan, 12.03 million, and then basically there's around 53.99 million shares overall are being shorted. So again, another layer of interesting kind of data because the math isn't mathing. I always find that phrase very weird anyways, but technically there's a lot more shares being shorted than on loan. So a very clear indication that there is naked shorting. And even if you look at this, I find this very hard to believe personally, but with it running up, what was that, 400+% over the year, shorts have done nothing but increase. Like very rarely do they actually return, with the exception of pretty much October. That was their biggest dip, but they've been increasing. So kind of gives some validity to potentially naked shorting. So again, that's another layer of element to kind of be interested over. But basically 4.6 million shares overall are available to be shorted, and that's through IBKR. And the reason why I bring that up is if there is a stock that is limited supply, you could see some corresponding buying coming from usually the big players like BlackRock and Vanguard, because they love to buy stocks just to lend out. So again, this is stock number 5. Moving on to stock number 4, you have ticker SINT, so it's SINT X Technologies, whatever, but sitting at $5.31, did go up 10.62% on Friday. Over the last 1 year, not doing all that great. It is down 82.24, but recently it is up 91.01% just in the last 5 days alone. Very small market cap, so 7.13 million, so very kind of low for that. Industry, healthcare equipment, 43 employees, founded in 1996 out of good old Salt Lake City, Utah. And ultimately, we're here because of this. So short score, 71.58. 7.48% of the free float is being shorted. Works out to be 100,000 shares overall are being shorted. On Friday, shorts did pretty much double down. They increased their position almost by 14%. You can kind of see that right here. And so they did increase 12,000 shares. So very, very interesting stuff. Cost to borrow average is 413.44%. That is a annual rate, not a daily rate. So just be kind of aware of that. But this is kind of what the market likes to squeeze. Somewhat heavily shorted and low float. So this definitely meets that criteria for that. But Usually, with the exception of a couple companies unveiling their earnings that's made this list, normally I have a good filter that kind of matches with good price action recently and at least above 6% short interest. So this does meet that criteria, and essentially if the momentum does continue based on the actual stock price itself, then this is where you'll see shorts very much in a pinch. So again, this is stock number 4, and then just to give you a good representation, there is five lonely shares available to be shorted. So most likely you will be seeing some buying coming into next week as big money wants to take advantage of that juicy cost to borrow, and so they'll be buying some stock just to lend out. So that will be most likely occurring early part of the week. So this is stock number 4. Moving on to stock number 3. One company that just had their earnings, and that is Celsius. So it did go up 27.77% on Friday. Had a high of 34.44, so I believe like 39% was the peak, but generally over the last 1 year, not doing all that great, down 46.69, but definitely gaining some good momentum recently. So over the last 5 days, it is at 43.41. In case you don't know what they do, this is it. So feel free to pause it. I'm pretty sure a lot of people generally know what this is all about, but right now, 26.14% of the free float is being shorted, works out to be 38.73 million shares. Shorts did increase 208,000 shares on Friday, so despite the very green day, shorts didn't believe it, and so they were increasing their position. But shorts have been generally very, very reactive to the stock price. So with it running up recently, shorts have been doubling the hell down. So they do not believe that Celsius should be at these prices. And whenever you see this type of scenario play out, so shorts really doubling down to like not believing the stock price, this is where you get a very unique circumstance. So for whatever reason, if Celsius is able to continue its very good momentum, shorts will be stuck in a very interesting predicament. So again, this is why earnings is a very fun event 4 times a year for a company, and again, that's if they're local and whatever. But beside the point, as far as this, there's about 2.4 million shares available to be shorted, so you probably won't be seeing any buying coming from the big players for this, just to lend out. And on a side note, cost to borrow is fairly low anyway, so probably won't be seeing any buying just for the purposes of lending out stock. But moving on to stock number 2, ticker is XOS, down 4% on Friday, sitting at $6 over the last 1 year. It is down 25.37. Then over the last 5 days, despite the pullback, it is up 94.17. So pretty good momentum for that. This is what they do. So you can, again, pause it. It is based out of good old LA, California, and basically 161 employees, founded in 2020. But interesting time to actually start a business, on a side note, right before the pandemic, or pretty much at the beginning of it. But 9.16% of the free float is being shorted, works out to be 551,000 shares overall are being shorted. Cost to borrow average 180.99%, again, not a daily rate, but short score is 72.17. Similar to Celsius, shorts have been very reactive to the stock price increasing, so they're doubling down. It went from roughly 4.97 in December to where it is now. So this is where you could see a very interesting kind of scenario play out. And again, it's not, you don't see some naked shorting resemblant here, because shares on loan is 654,000, number of shares being shorted is 551, but it is kind of getting close to that kind of limit. So again, something just to kind of keep in mind. Through IBKR does indicate that there is 2,000 shares available to be shorted. So you could see some corresponding buying as big money wants to take advantage of the 58.95 cost to borrow. So again, this is your stock number 2. And then last but not least, moving on to your stock number 1, you have MLGO. Did go up 453%. That's what it closed at, $6.36. But it did have a high of 11.71. This is absolutely crazy. And the day before this went on this crazy run, so on Thursday evening, I did put out one of these types of videos. So the kind of top 5 squeeze stocks. this one made the list. So luckily to those individuals that kind of acted based on that. And this is why you never know when a squeeze could occur and why you need to add them all to your watch list. Definitely having the circumstances there, having some pre-existing good momentum is absolutely key. Despite the recent run though, it is still down 95.79% over the last 5 days, up a solid 415.87%. This is what they do. So IT consulting and other services, employees is 86, but we are here because of this. So short score is 73.16, 12.03% of the free float is being shorted, works out to be 1.18 million shares. Shorts did double down, so they increased their position by 47% on Friday. 376,000 shares were increased. Cost to borrow average is 279.14%. Through IBKR does indicate roughly around 80,000 shares is available to be shorted. So kind of interesting stuff. So let me know your thoughts on these top 5. I do have a bonus one for you, only because of, again, their upcoming earnings. And when I first started covering like squeeze stocks way back in the day, I was a big fan of Beyond Meat, and unfortunately it didn't really turn out or as planned, because over the last 5 years it is down 96.58%, but they do have their earnings coming up. So earnings is slated for the 26th after hours, negative 45 cents, 76.08 million for the revenue. And so, yeah, I think all in all, this is also a potential that you need to add to your watch list. So this is a +1 bonus for you. And so, again, take this into consideration that it has not really done the best on previous earnings, but I think the bar is set so low right now that it could potentially beat. And last earnings, they did go up, I think, a solid like 40-something% after the day or after the earnings. I'll pull this up quickly. So Beyond Meat, so that is, so it looks like day one, so it went up 24%. Not the last earnings, but the one in August. Maybe that's the one I'm remembering. But as you can kind of see, it's very, very volatile, either up 20-30% or down 15%. And potentially, given the circumstances, shorts have really doubled down. So this is almost at the all-time high short interest. So 50.26% of the free float is being shorted, works out to be 31.04 million shares. So this isn't officially the top 5 based on the circumstances, but I do feel that this is one that you need to add to your watch list just in case, potentially. Through IBKR, on a side note, there is roughly around 80,000 shares available to be shorted. So let me know your thoughts. Is there any other squeeze stocks that you feel could go up this week, and potentially which ones and why? So don't forget to hit that thumbs up. One final thing, if you're looking for some kick-ass buy signals, pop over to my Patreon. A link in the description below and also the comments. I put out buy signals on stocks, options, and crypto. Many of them have been absolutely on point and bangers. Definitely worthwhile to pop over there and take a look. With all that, appreciate all of you watching.